Hey everyone, this is WobblyWallaby. In my comments section, one of the most common classes people wish were good for PvE is Blade Soul. In the original Ragnarok Online, the Assassin branch was good and people had nostalgia playing this class. So how bad is Blade Soul for PvE? Especially with some recent buffs, I was curious. There's also been very few videos on Blade Soul for PvE. Most of them are for PvP where they're very powerful. In this video, I'll show you my Blade Soul build that I tried in various PvE instances, such as MVP hunting, Oracle Elite, attempting to kill the Legend Golem, and more. Also exciting news, I have codes to give away in this video. I have 10 C, 5 Global, and 5 EU codes. Let me know which class you'd like to play for fun in the comments section. Include your Discord ID and which server you play on, such as C, Global, or EU, and winners will get codes on September 30th, 2023. Stay tuned to see what Blade Souls are capable of in PvE. There's a big gap for PvE guides for Blade Soul, and I don't blame people. Blade Soul really lacked damage for PvE when compared with other classes. I believe there were two big changes for Blade Soul that made it viable for PvE now. From the December 2022 patch notes, there was a change to the Assassin skill Assassination Halo. The new effect added, every 1 point of crit increases auto attack by 1 to 2 up to 10 points. Prior to this, Assassination Halo would only give 20 crit to you and your party, which was garbage. Now you can damage scale based on crit, which gives you much more possibilities to boost your damage. Next, the Assassin Jur's Tier 5 effect gives a huge boost in auto attack damage. 2% per soul is insane. For example, here I have 59.9% auto attack damage increase. I cast Dark Contract to fill up my souls. My auto attack damage increases to 81.9%, a 22% increase since I'm able to have 11 souls. This can further increase if you have a high first line for your soul hunting Pack Star Ruin, which could add a potential 5 extra souls. Next, I'll show you the build that I use for PvE. I'm using the auto attack build with Assassin Jur. I don't have the cards that increase damage for poison, so I'm converting elements. In the future, when bosses are affected by status effects like poison, there's definitely more potential, but as it is right now, I find converting to be more effective. First are skills. This build is for auto attack PvE. I'm definitely not choosing skills that are excellent for PvP, so please don't use this build for PvP. Here are my Thief skills. Here are my Assassin skills. Here are my Assassin Cross skills. Here are my Guillotine Cross skills. And for Blade Soul, I maxed out all the skills. Some skills I want to highlight for PvE are the Hiding skills, which are great in Echoing Corridor against mobs in combination with Poisonous Smoke. Also, Poisonous Smoke is excellent against mobs in general, such as Oracle Dungeon. Next, for MVP hunting, Hallucination Walk's 50% move speed increase is great, and also Soul Depravity for burst. Next are the manual bars. I have Prepare for Elite, Assassination Halo, Soul Depravity, Dark Contract, Hallucination Walk, and Backsliding. For my next manual bar, this is more versus mobs. I have Soul Breath for survivability, Hiding, Poisonous Weapon, Poisonous Smoke, Dark Contract, and Prepare for Elite. For auto attack, I just have the auto attack skill. I cast Prepare for Elite manually. Inside Prepare for Elite, I have Enchant Deadly Poison, Assassination Halo, and Dark Contract. Next for Advanced Ruins, I go all in on damage increase, so I only put the minimum ruins I need, and the rest I just try to get the highest minor ruins for damage. The damage to all races from the yellow ruins adds up, and I also use as many red attack ruins as possible. First is the Soul Hunting Pack Star Ruin. Ideally you have a high first line. The insta-kill unfortunately doesn't work on bosses, so the third line is optional. Next is the Cross Destruction Ruin. Auto attacks have a chance to cast Cross Impact, so a high first line is great. Next, the Enchanting Chain Star Ruin is optional. I don't use the spell wave, but you could. Finally is the Soul Assassination Ruin. You need a high first line, which unfortunately I do not have. People say this is a mandatory ruin that can make or break this class. But I couldn't get a good first line, but this didn't prevent me from doing okay. Next is gear. My strategy is to go all out on crit, auto attack damage increase, and converting. Again, I don't have the poison damage in cards, which is why I don't focus on poison damage. First is offhand. I use Unyielding Warband's Legacy for the crit, auto attack, and penetration percentage. For card I use the Alice Star card for MVP damage. Next for armor I use the Other Shore Patrol for the elemental damage. For card I use the Poitata Star card for the damage to non-demi-human monsters. Next for garment I use Campaign Manteau for the auto attack damage increase. For card I use the Dragonfly Star card for more auto attack damage increase based on Agi. For footgear, I use Dragonslayer's War Boots for the attack percentage and the penetration percentage. For card I use the Time Holder Star card for the auto attack damage increase. For my first accessory, I use the Gold Earring for the crit, raw attack, and penetration percentage. For my first card, I use the Greatest General card for the final damage. For my second accessory, I use another Gold Earring. For card I use the Godly Chef card for crit and critical damage, but I would switch to other racial cards depending on the target. For weapon I use Assassin Jur. For card I use the Drake Star card and the Menorah Star card. For headwear I use the Homestead of Snowy Owl for the elemental damage and the extra damage to an inferior element. For card I use the Machine Dragon Wing card for MVP damage. If I'm not facing an inferior elemental target, I use the Spring Platter Wishing for a Harvesting Year for the crit and crit damage. For face I use the Illusory Light Mirror for the auto attack damage. For mouth I use Shape of My Heart for the auto attack damage. For back I use Goodwill Gift Box for MVP damage. For tail I use Fox Helad for the auto attack damage increase. For shadow equipment I use Skeleton Bracer for more damage. I see other Blade Souls use Sphinx Bracelet, but I don't have that. For armor I use the Chosen Armor for more damage. For garment I use Cloud Undershirt for more attack, crit, and auto attack damage. This is typically the one I see Blade Souls use. For footgear I use St. Mary's Cloth Shoes for the attack percentage. For Oracle Mirror I use the Bill for the MVP damage. For defensive mirror I use the Deathcat Armor for the stun resist. Next for Ancient Relic I use the Lord of Vane for the penetration percentage and elemental counter coefficient. Next are my stats and attributes. This is with self buffs and B-meals. For attributes I max Agi due to the Dragonfly Star card, and max luck to get as high crit as possible for Assassination Halo. The rest is in strength, so basically I built a glass cannon. For attack I have 27,000 attack, 480% attack speed. For attributes I have multi-classed everything to get the bonus attributes. I have 100.8% penetration, 517 critical, 269.9% critical damage, 82.4% auto attack damage increase, 159.2% damage, 58.1% physical damage increase, and for my elemental damage they are all at 74% or higher. Next for Adventure Handbook I have 3084 attack and 70% deposits. For these class challenge videos I like to keep my deposits at 70% to keep it more consistent. Next, thanks to Droobie for sharing his gear and stats with me. I was curious what Assassin Jur users would use, and you can see some alternatives as well. Here's his gear overview. He also shared his stats with self buffs. He has 50,000 attack, which is insane, and has 149.7% penetration, 721 crit, and 333.1% critical damage. Aiming for 330% critical damage is ideal, since after that there are diminishing returns. Also, 721 crit is insane since the Assassination Halo effect will be absurd. So, just to be clear, I'm showing a mid-game style Blade Soul. You can definitely do much better if you have late game gear. Next, here are my thoughts for Blade Soul in PvE. Originally I had very low expectations of it. I thought it would be trash. But over time while building this class, I could see improvements and it was a lot of fun. For low board MVPs, Soul Depravity is a good burst, although if you have auto attack, you can still hit pretty hard. Going pure auto attack is definitely going to bring back memories of Ragnarok Online, where Soul Depravity did not exist. Hallucination Walk definitely helps with the move speed problems, so it's better than some classes that lack speed boosts. However, the burst isn't good enough against popular classes like Nogu, Saitama, or Wataru, which does it more efficiently. If you like a challenge for MVP hunting and are bored of one-shotting everything, then give Blade Soul a try. Next is the Legend Golem, which is my usual benchmark for testing classes. I did try to solo this a few times and here's one of those runs. I'm also using water converters. I hack away at the Golem. One of my favorite things to do is the backslide to avoid damage, it just looks really cool. The damage actually surprised me. The massive amount of auto attack damage does pretty well. When I was initially messing around with this class, I could barely kill the Brave level Golem, but after focusing on maxing crit and auto attack damage, it did surprisingly better. I did a few attempts and most of them were between 40 to 50%. The Golem's insta-kill and petrification really ends Blade Soul's life. I think there's also a bug versus the Golem. The Blade Soul just insta-dies to the Golem and doesn't get petrified sometimes when you solo it. So even if you got lots of mid-game to late game level gachas, gears, cards, and 70% deposit, you still can't solo clear it quickly enough, which is unfortunate. But how about adding some help? Here I control my wife, Fiery Fairy Saint, to help provide Faith Prey, healing, and res. For my Blade Soul, I'm barely gonna touch it, it's nice to have it just run on auto by itself. I'm mostly controlling the Saint right now, just running around. Surprisingly, even with the Glass Cannon build, I'm not dying non-stop. Faith Prey definitely helps. When the Golem is less than 50%, I stop casting stuff with the Saint because all the spells are aggroing the Golem too much. I don't want the Saint to be petrified. So me just running around and not casting anything is intentional. At around 1%, I'm trying to finish off the Golem with Soul Depravity, but the damage doesn't quite hit as hard as I thought it would, and eventually it goes down just to auto attack. So for legend instances, you could possibly solo DPS it, but definitely not solo. You lack survivability when compared to classes like Wrathcracy, who has an HP shield and lifesteal built in, and also deals much more damage per second. Also, I have another video where I solo DPS this Golem with a free-to-play level Wrathcracy with no gachas and 15% depot. There I also use my wife's Saint for support. So there definitely are more cost-efficient classes out there. I'll put a link to that video in the description. Next is Oracle Dungeon. I had runs where people went Blade Soul and I didn't know why, but I'd soon find out. At the highest Oracle Elite difficulty, I use Poisonous Smoke. It does really well against the mobs and especially the guards, even when they stun you. I run around and they take a ton of damage. For many of my physical classes that I play, I struggle with the mobs in Oracle Elite. The damage reduction is just too bad. Especially here where the evil returns are spawning, other classes I use often can't deal with it, but this class can deal with it pretty well. Also, Poisonous Smoke and Hiding does very well in Echoing Corridor. Even with no item buffs, you can see how I can lame out the mobs by hiding and then just casting Poisonous Smoke. Next is my conclusion. I think Blade Soul has potential for PvE, especially with its recent buffs, and right now on the beta server, there's even more incoming buffs. Assassination Halo is going to switch from raw auto attack to auto attack damage percentage, as well as some changes to Soul Sacrifice and the Soul Assassination Ruin. Thanks to Bacon for translating these changes. I hope the devs will continue buffing this class, so even in PvE, assassins can actually assassinate bosses. What do you think of Blade Soul? Have you tried it out in PvE? Let me know in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Here's a video that I recommend, and if you want to see a class tier list, check out this playlist over here.